Hello and welcome to Cabalvision HD's Bico League show brought to you by Bloodwiser. This is your one-stop shop for all of the amazing and exciting action in the past week of Bico League. I'm your host Jim and I'm joined as always by the second fastest big guy in Bico League, Leslie Flowers.
Hello.
And also the master of hot takes, an old veteran coach here to give us young guys some wisdom, Mr. Skulls.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's head straight into the Week 4 action with Manlet's British Museum Moyai's 2-1 victory over Sleepy's Shuriman University. Now, fellas, this one was an exciting match. Heading into the game, the Ogres now had two players with increased strength, showing that their workout regime was really working. It started explosively with Tunak Enjoy His Son catching the ball and making 4 dodges and 2 going for it between an Ogre and completely breaking through the strong Ogre line. Coach Sleepy ordered his Noblos to try and defend, but the drive was over before he knew it, with Tunak Enjoy His Son getting the first touchdown of the match. Shuriman gets the ball back, and while Tony Hawk Tour was able to pick up the ball, in 7 whole turns he just could not score. The British Museum Moyais picked up some nasty injuries, and the doctors, well, frankly, they must have just gotten out of medical school, because they absolutely sucked. Both times apothecaries were called in to help, they could not improve the injury result. Antifa Army member got a hold of the ball, and despite his earlier heroics, the referee would not let Tunak Enjoy His Son get away with a foul, and sent him to the stands. Sleepy was able to throw the goblin who was holding the ball, that is Antifa Army member, but unluckily he was blitzed right after dropping it. What happens next? I'll be honest, lads, I can't even find the words to describe. All I'll say is on turn 12, Manlet attempted the worst play known to man. Just let it stay as that. Eventually, the ball bounces on a rebound and Gambling Addict is able to catch and score, leveling the scoreline at turn 15. However, the match is not over, and after a pitch invasion stuns 4 of Coach Sleepy's players and none of Manlet's, the British Museum Moyais score in the final turn of the game, clinching the win for Coach Manlet. This was a game that really started and ended with lots of action, but frankly was rather forgettable in between. Leslie, do you think there's going to be many games like that?
I mean, ultimately it is inevitable. You know, we can't all have action-packed games, and I mean, we've had a great first start to the league. It would only be like statistically viable for it to kind of maybe peter off in some places.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we'll see with the later games of the week if it really did peter off. Moving on, let's hand it over to Mr. Skulls, who was at the Twitch Gamers, coached by Coach SHG, against Bulging BBC 4, Leo, and in their 1-1 draw. Mr. Skulls, what did you see in this match?
Now, this match was absolutely the hottest ticket of the week. Coach SHG and the Twitch Gamers have been putting on a less than stellar performance this league, and with the technical limitations that vampires have, the notion of the BBC's winning was one that was drumming up massive hype. Noosphere threads were on fire, turnout on betting platforms was higher than it's ever been. Hell, like I barely got a ticket, the stadium was sold out in 10 minutes. But alas, I won't beat around the bush. If you're listening to this podcast, dear viewer, you already know the score. Perhaps one of the most disheartening draws to have ever happened on both sides, mind you. 1-1 was the score, and I can guarantee that neither coach is happy about that. For Coach SHG, this constitutes another draw, and a draw against a coach that has never won a game, mind you, which has gotta sting, really putting his prospects at winning a game with the Vampires into question. I just hope that not signing that Tony Rat contract was worth it. And obviously for Coach Leo, this was the best shot he had at winning his first game. He was in top form this time around. He's played his fucking mind out, cutting off blitz lines, making cages, choosing his plays carefully, and in the end, he still couldn't eke out a win. He was so close as well. Like at the tail end of the game, he was lined up to score. The gamers were not in a position to defend. And what happened? I don't know what happened. It's not clear whether it was just a standard normal fumble, some sort of sabotage, or a boneheaded attempt to feed SPP is anyone's guess.
Mm.
But the reality is that the ball went out of the BBC's hands and neither team could score a touchdown after that. Uh, a real tragedy to sport narrative all over the world.
Absolutely. And we all heard Coach SHG's press conference last week where he was begging for a win this match. This was a must-win game for him, and as we can see, he just could not get it done.
He must be feeling the pressure. We'll see what happens with him from now on.
Absolutely. Well, we have a packed show, so let's move on. Leslie Flowers, you were at the My Anime Figures, coached by Idosian's 1-0 win over Coach Doc What WTF's baseless accusations. How was this match? Was there, it's quite low scoring, but was there a lot of action?
Well, if you're like me and in this game for the violence, the first half of this match was a bit dull. As I mentioned last week, these are two relatively agile teams going at it this match, and it showed. While there was a few block actions going on, most of the action was the teams manoeuvring, each jockeying for position to snatch up the ball from the other. A playstyle that definitely puts a lot of mental stress, as we saw the timer run out a lot this half. In the end, no touchdowns the first half, an uneventful injury on Jeffrey Epstein, and Shimikaze put in the sin bin for an attempted foul.
Mm.
Now, the second half, we see someone has hands, and that someone is the sun. Sweltering Heat makes a play, and 5 players go down for the count, 2 Dark Elves and 3 Amazons. The Amazons get possession of the ball and launching it upfield while Doki-chan takes a Witch Elf's heel to the jaw, putting her in a critical state. Fortunately for My Anime Figures, this does not impact their ability to dash with the ball, and they make it to the touchdown line, bringing the score to 1-0. But not before getting revenge on the Elves, and Prince Andrew suffers 15 consecutive heart attacks after being lightly kicked in the scrotum, killing him. Doctor was not able to do anything for that.
That's a lot of heart attacks, man.
You know it.
And is that not the second death for the baseless accusations?
I mean, who's keeping count?
Sorry, continue.
Yes, this puts baseless accusations in a very precarious position for the second drive of the half. With only 5 players available, a problem exacerbated by a pitch invasion by this crowd, stunning Roman Polanski. Fortunately, he was not alone, and 2 of the Amazons were also caught out in the ruckus, but that mattered not. For the remainder of the match, the handful of elves virtually spent it all parallel with the ground, allowing the Amazons to carry the ball down to the touchdown line, and it was there that they made the arrogant decision to pass the ball, and the receiver failed to catch, ending the match only inches away from a 2-0 at 1-0.
Ooh. That's gotta hurt for Coach Idosian.
I mean, we've all seen decisions like this happen and pay off, but unlucky it didn't happen this time, but at the very least it didn't cost the win.
True, very true.
Unlike a certain somebody else.
we've moved on from the Leo match. You gotta let it go. We got a busy show. Well, lads, let me tell you about a game I was at. Maurice's Natural Born Fowlers 4-0 shellacking of Coach Capri's Cretin Community College. Now, here at Cabalvision HD, we normally have a typical order for how we like to do match reports. Some of us like to do play-by-play, each turn by each turn flow, giving the natural flow. This game really challenges that. So, because it was all decided by the first couple of turns, Cloaca Studies Major died on one of the first block actions of the match, and while the Field Apothecary was able to save him from death, the process smashed his collarbone, leaving him with less strength, which will surely jeopardize his long-term position on the team. Asaurus with 1 less strength. I mean, That's a lineman. In trying to make up for their player deficit, birthing pool shooter attempted a foul, but was immediately sent off, and back-to-back injuries on Moron, Cretan's protege, and blonde blue-eyed Saurian meant that this match was over before it truly started. The Janny picked up a niggling injury, and the community college had 6 players injured and 1 sent off by the start of the second half. After stalling for several turns, General Macklemore scored the first touchdown of the match, but it was really the second half that allowed the natural born foulers to run rampant, getting 3 touchdowns. Now, I do want to give a special shout out to ex-coach Stink, who even in the face of overwhelming firepower still stood strong while down 3 touchdowns and attempted 2 sacks on ball carriers, one of them succeeding. But of course, it ultimately amounted to nothing. So many players were able to score for the natural born foulers that it was honestly hard to keep track of them all. General Macklemore, Bull Gene, and Family Man all got onto the scoreboard, with General Macklemore and local SPP dealer picking up the MVPs. Ex-coach Stink was also able to complete a pass to give at least 1 extra SPP point to the battered Coach Capri. Now, Leslie earlier was talking about how some people who watch this game love injuries, they love deaths, and boy, for those people, and perhaps Leslie himself, this game was an absolute doozy.
You bet your ass I've got it on tape.
I just wonder what time of day or night he'll be watching it. Alright, let's finish off the recaps, handing it back off to Mr. Skulls with Moon's 105.2 Hard Rockabye 2-0 victory over Fox's Parkour Pros. Mr. Skulls, please take it away.
Well, continuing the theme from the previous game, this is what a proper Blood Bowl game should look like, literally, considering all the gore that sprayed around. Despite 2 of the toughest teams in the league in terms of armor value clashing, usually results in a whole lot of nothing. This time it was a veritable slugfest. KOs and injuries were flying around, bad ones too, and the Parkour Pros took the brunt of it. 2 of their blitzer had some pretty nasty looking hand injuries, both of them now having a lower armor value because of it. Back on the AV8 ground like the rest of us. Raw Chicken also was dealt a niggling injury, which means that Runty Greenskin is not long for this world. From a strategic view, the game was about how everybody expected it to be. Coach Fox mounted a valiant defense, but few can withstand the measured violence of Chorfs, and combined with Radioactive's explosive offense, the game ended in a respectable 2-0.
Do you think Fox really was able to showcase his learning, and he's still the rookie coach? Could he hold his own against Coach Moon?
Well, I would say that Coach Fox has improved a lot in my view, but this one was kind of a lost cause. Coach Moon is one of the favorites to win the whole thing, and it was pretty obvious this was going to be a wipe. But considering it's just a 2-0, and as we've seen, things can be a lot worse.
Absolutely.
I think Coach Fox did the best he could. He still got room to grow, but then again, so does every other coach.
Absolutely. Well, hoping the best for him, and best of luck to Moon as well. Let's round up this segment with recapping for our viewers the standings as they are now. So in first place is Coach Moon's 105.2 Hard Rockabye with 4 wins. Second is Coach Capri's Cretan Community College with 3 wins and a loss. Third and fourth are Maurice and Dojan's Natural Born Fowlers and My Anime Figures respectively, both on 2 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss. Manlet is 5th with the British Museum Moyais, 2 wins and 2 losses. 6th and 7th are made up of Sleepy and Dr. WTF's Dreamin' University and Baseless Accusations respectively, with 1 win, 1 draw and 2 losses. 8th is Coach Fox's Parkour Pros with 1 win and 3 losses. In ninth, we have Coach SHG's The Twitch Gamers with 0 wins, 3 draws, and 1 loss. And finally, at 10th, is Coach Leo's Bulgings BBC4 with 0 wins, 1 draw, and 3 losses. Alright, now it's time for us to get to know the coaches better with our very own Leslie Flowers travelling to speak to our newest Blood Bowl coach, Fox, and the Bico Pros.
Hello, everybody. I'm down here at Zinch's Fried Chicken, where you're not always sure what you're going to get when I run into none other than Coach Fox, the coach of the Parkour Pros. How are you?
Hello there, Leslie. I'm honestly feeling pretty excited. Recent matches have got me really feeling that Blood Bowl spirit.
That's a good spirit to have. You were actually at the last match you had, a 2-0 loss to 105.2 Hard Rock Cabal. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, to be honest, Leslie, I was quite worried going into my match there. I would say Moon was probably the coach that I feared the most. When I got onto the field and I saw the large centaur, I immediately started feeling that my bumps were being goosed. And during the match, I was constantly out of my head, and I felt like I was crumbling under pressure. I was making plays I didn't like, and I was not satisfied with my performance. However, during the second goal, when I heard Coach Moon sigh, a very relieved sigh, after scoring, it made me realize he was also feeling pressure, and I was not performing as badly as I thought I was. While I was still losing, I was making better effort than I realized, and I just felt like I was too focused on the beef when I should have been going for the jump.
That's certainly a philosophy here in Bico League we don't fully understand, but I guess you do. So, I mean, obviously the name Parkour Pros and all of this talk of beef and jumping, what is parkour actually?
I'm glad you asked that, Leslie. When you really get down to it, the name and meaning of parkour is making a jump and landing it. That's the spirit I'm really trying to channel in these matches. And back at Parkour Civilization, there's a question that our people constantly ask themselves. They ask, would you rather make the 1-block jump for the chicken or the 1-block vertical jump for the beef? When we ask ourselves this question, what we're really asking is what our intentions, what our goals are. How do we see ourselves in this world? And the only place I see myself, Leslie, is the top. And I will make any jump to do it.
I don't fully see, but okay. Personally, I am quite fond of the chicken, hence why we are here. But, I mean, not understanding you... Well, it seems to be a trend when it comes to this league. You are the rookie coach, the one we weren't quite sure how they'd handle things, and you've made a lot of questionable choices that some of the veterans definitely raised an eyebrow for. Things like global housing crisis and 4-block long jump, taking the shadowing skill. These are very niche and situational skills that we normally don't consider, but we've seen them work to great effect. What were your thoughts going into this, taking such skills?
Well, like I said, here at Parkour Civilization, we always go for the beef. And seeing as it's my first ever time in the league, I didn't feel like I was that experienced. I didn't fully understand what I was getting into, but I saw the spirit in my players. I saw that they truly could understand what it meant to parkour. The strength to make aggressive jumps, but the agility to make different gaggus. A global housing crisis, in particular, really felt like someone who really channeled that going for the beef spirit. I have heard the gossip of the other coaches saying that he wasn't a good pick, that shadowing was a niche skill, that I want to be able to make use of it. But I really think he has shown the world what he's capable of. And I'm excited to see how 4 block long jump continues the trend.
I see. Well, my chicken's getting cold, so we'll wrap this up quite quickly. Your next match is versus Idosian. Any thoughts going into this match at all?
I've seen some of the matches from Dojin. I've seen how slippery his anime girl figures can be. And I'm just hoping that Global Housing Crisis, again, will really put that shadowing skill to work, really stop those dodges. And I'm just hoping to make a bigger name for myself.
Always a good goal. Any closing thoughts? Anything you'd like to say to the fans back home?
I'm really glad that I came to this league, Leslie. It was very rough starting by facing multiple veteran players, but I've truly felt in these recent matches that I've started getting a grip, and now I'm very excited for more games in the future.
That's what we love to hear. Well, I mean, that's all you need to hear, folks. Coach Fawkes, a riddle wrapped in an enigma with all his talk of jumping and beef, but he makes it work, and we look forward to seeing more from him in the future. Anyway, back to you in the studio.
Alright, well, it's nearly time for our show to end, but let's take a quick look at the future matches to come. Leslie, first off, it's Fox versus Idosian. How do you think this match is going to go?
I really see this as an opportunity for Fawkes to finally show himself. I mean, as we've said, you know, Amazon's dodgy team, but it is an AG3 dodgy team. And, you know, as the interview pointed out, he's really going hard into that shadowing. I don't know if dodge is going to pay off at all.
Shadowing can be quite annoying. Well, Mr. Skulls, Coach Moon versus Coach Sleepy. Do you think there's going to be a lot of violence in this game?
Oh, absolutely. The chores are quite slow and quite bashy, and I think they're going to have trouble getting away from all those ogres. Bunch of armor value 9 all around. I think there's going to be a lot of blocks, perhaps not a lot of injuries. But there's not. What I guarantee is that there's not going to be a lot of touchdowns.
Well, let's stick it. I'm going to keep it on you, Mr. Skulls. For also, Dr. WTF is going to be facing SHG. Dark Elves versus Vampires. What do you think about this game?
Well, I think this game's going to be the most, like, fucked up game of all 5 of them for this week. The Vampires really struggling to get a foothold in this league, but if they can do it against anyone, it's against the battered and bruised Dark Elves.
Absolutely. Next, we're going to have Leo versus Maurice, and I don't need to hand it off to anyone. I'm going to be sending my thoughts and prayers to Coach Leo, and hoping Bulging BBC4 can get anything out of this, because against we don't need to spend any more time on this match. Leslie, let's round it off with Coach Capri against Coach Manlet. You think this is going to be an exciting game?
I mean, I've been, ever since I heard about this week's match, I've been wondering where this goes. This could be a defining moment for Coach Capri in this league. Obviously, that battering has run-off effects, and if it influences this match too much, I could see the once great Crescent Community College spiraling into the abyss. But, I mean, if he manages to hold on, I'll be wrong.
you certainly will be. And now, sadly, it is time for our show to end. Thank you all very much for listening. to Cabalvision HD's Bico League show presented by Bloodweiser. Thank you for joining us, Leslie.
Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Skulls.
Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.
Stay tuned for the Week 5 broadcast coming to your crystal ball soon. I've been Jim, and happy bowling.